now to Venezuelan American diplomat Dr. Vanessa Neumann, who's CEO and founder of Asymmetrica, a political risk and research and strategic communications firm. Thank you for being with us, Vanessa. How significant do you think this level of protest is for her?
Thank you. My name is actually pronounced Neumann, but I think the level of protest is interesting. It's very reminiscent of when I participated in protests before 2019. You know, we've been protesting certainly very loudly since 2017, when the country lit up and realized that it was really truly under a dictatorship, when the Supreme Court said it would legislate by decree, regardless of what anyone thought. And they started, and the repression started to be very, very vicious. It is common then, I can tell you from experience, to have these sort of counter protests, where you have the pro-democracy faced by the dictatorship-funded protests. What we used to do is we would often meet face-to-face. And I have spoken at protests in front of the White House. There's pictures of me from 2019 doing so. And we would ask the protesters on the other side to sing the Venezuelan national anthem. And it turned out that most people who were protesting in favor of the dictatorship could not find Venezuela on a map. They were pay-for-play protesters and didn't have a grasp of the issues, and therefore did not know the national anthem. So this is very, very typical of this very long-standing battle for democracy. So it's unfortunate that here we are in 2025, after having started in 2017, so nearly 10 years. And I think that in 2027, you might well still be here to see that this tit-for-tat protesting around the world.
Though I suppose we have seen, haven't we, a strength of feeling around the action that President Trump's White House is taking on Venezuelan boats.
Well, I don't understand that. I really don't understand the bleeding hearts around sort of drug traffickers. I don't understand since when the drug traffickers get more sympathy than the 25% of Venezuelans who fled, repression and torture and corruption, or the thousands of people currently in Venezuelan prisons being tortured. The fact that Venezuela is a main transit point for narcotics is not in dispute by anybody with half a brain. I mean, I have been writing about it. The OECD has written about it. The European Parliament, the UK Foreign Office. I mean, there's thousands and thousands of pages.
Sorry, Vanessa, just to jump in, I think we have heard from other experts earlier, speaking to BBC News, other people we spoke to, who said that actually the drug import from Venezuela isn't the main source in the US, and apparently that far more of it travels via by road from Mexico rather than via boat from Venezuela.
Well, it goes via Venezuela into Mexico. I mean, I have personally published the drug trafficking routes by boat and by airplane that goes into Central America and then over the road and then over road into Mexico. They have huge alliances with the Mexican cartels. I have been publishing on this since 2009. So this is very well known. And the fact that they might not be heading straight to Miami, but are heading elsewhere en route to the United States still makes them drug trafficking people who are funding torture and terrorist groups
but I suppose
in a crime terror pipeline, as per my 2017 book. On the subject.
Vanessa, I suppose the reason that people are protesting, though, is more that... I suppose that the reason that people are protesting, though, is not whether or not necessarily that they're drug traffickers, but the concerns by some that it may have amounted to a war crime. I mean, a senior Democratic lawmaker who saw footage of that incident where it was a so-called double tap, where you had shipwrecked sailors and then a second, as they called it, and a second strike on that, and experts have said to the BBC as well that that second strike on the alleged drug boat was probably illegal and would likely be considered an extrajudicial killing under international law. But I suppose we need to, I mean, really what we need to get back to is the protests in support of Machado, don't we? And what I'd like to hear from you is where you think this leaves her position and what hope for her future.
Well, first of all, I mean, in terms of EJKs, extrajudicial killings, Venezuela is one of the leaders in the world on this. And many of our own my personal friends and anybody in my position has dozens of people who've been dragged from their homes and murdered and tortured to death. So Machado's protests, you know, the people standing up for her are really to protect her as she goes to Oslo to claim her Nobel Peace Prize, which is a huge win for the Venezuelan people, and highlights the fact that we have been living under one of the most drug trafficking, torturous regimes in the world, and that is not to be forgotten. So that is really what these protests are about. Now, she faces a double-edged sword in going to travel to Oslo, and it's the same double-edged sword that any leader of the opposition has faced in Venezuela. Is if you need to be in Venezuela to lead the people down there. However, you also don't have the access to the international leadership unless you're overseas. So you have a trade-off between being the brave one, and she literally is the only person left really on the ground. And if she can't get back in, then she'll be like so many others, like including Leopoldo Lopez and Edmundo González.
Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for your time, and sorry for getting your surname wrong earlier. Dr. Vanessa Neumann, thank you so much.